everybody, and very warm welcome to our session about the clean co-extensibility in SAP S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition. My name is Olga, I'm Product Manager for ABAP Platform, and I'm here together with Thomas. Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Thomas Fiedler. I'm the product owner of the ABAP development tools, and I'm happy to hear and talk about the latest innovations from the ABAP stack.
So we are very happy to be here, but we are not alone. We have also our colleagues in background who are kindly supporting us by answering your questions in the Q&A tool. So feel free to ask the questions, you will get the answers. Let's start. Let's start with Clean Core with ABAP Cloud, how you develop Clean Core ready. I think it's nothing new for almost everybody for you that Clean Core actually describes a system which is close to standard as far as possible. There are 5 well-known technical dimensions of the Clean Core, but we will focus today on the extensibility and the custom code perspective. And the basic idea about custom code is to keep it developed clearly separated from the ABAP code. Previously, in the past, it was not possible because there were no public APIs available. We had BAPIs, yes, like standard APIs, but they were stable but not available in all application areas. And therefore, in most cases, you have developed your custom code using classic extension methodologies, like, for example, creating modifications, enhancements, and in that way, your custom extensions became unstable in some cases, and it resulted in high testing and adaptation effort during upgrades. Of course, ideally, to keep your system stable, you should avoid extensions as far as possible. But if you still need extensions, now you can create them completely separated from the classic ABAP code. And you can do it by means of using publicly released APIs, which we as SAP provide for you. You can develop your decoupled extensions. And the important thing is you need also set up a strong governance during your development process in order to ensure that extensions really developed in decoupled way. But using these public APIs, using ABAP Cloud development model rules and also the 3-tier extensibility model, you can develop now in a clean core way inside of SAP S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition system. ABAP Cloud, also nothing new for most of you, is our ABAP development model to build cloud-ready development extensions and services and applications. ABAP Cloud comprises public APIs from us, from SAP, and extension points. You develop your business logic using cloud-optimized ABAP language, and you do the data modeling and use embedded analytics via core data services. For development of your transactional scenarios, you use ABAP RESTful application programming model. And with regard to development environment, if you need small extensions via key user extensibility, then you use key user tools, which are web-based. And for ABAP development-related tasks, you use ABAP development tools for Eclipse. In that sense, ABAP Cloud is Clean Core compliant by definition, and is available in all SAP S/4HANA editions and additionally in SAP BTP ABAP environment. The central piece of your Clean Core development inside of S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition is the 3-tier extensibility model. So ideally, you develop all new extensions in Tier 1, and they are per definition cloud-ready because you develop them in separate software components, switch the language version to ABAP for cloud development, and therefore you are absolutely cloud-ready there. If you are missing public API from SAP, you can use Tier 2 and cloud-enable the unreleased SAP object. You can implement the so-called custom wrappers for unreleased objects in Tier 2, and for the development rules are pretty the same. You use also ABAP Cloud development model besides of using actual unreleased object. And the Tier 3 is released for classic ABAP development. And the main objective for Tier 3 is to reduce the content of this tier. Of course, you will still need extensions if, for example, you have let's say, Dimpro-based application, then you need to extend it, you will do it in Tier 3. But the main objective is reduce the content of Tier 3, retire unused code, remove obsolete business logic, and look for the use cases which you probably can innovate or renovate with ABAP Cloud into direction of the Tier 1. So here, at one glance, the main principles of development with ABAP Cloud development model. You use only released APIs from ABAP platform and S/4HANA. The usage of released APIs is checked by the ABAP compiler. So if you use unreleased object, you will get syntax error in your code. You create your own custom APIs if you need to cloud enable unreleased SAP object in Tier 2. And you use only released extension points bodies to extend SAP standard objects. As I said, ABAP RESTful application programming model is your model of choice for developing of transactional applications. And you work with SAP HANA database using CDS, ABAP Managed Database Procedures, and ABAP SQL. ABAP Development Tools for Eclipse is your development environment for ABAP development tasks, and for the governance of your clean code development, the ABAP Test Cockpit is a central tool to use. And if you want to adapt some use cases to ABAP Cloud, you would also use ABAP Test Cockpit. You can find the public APIs directly in ABAP Development Tools in Eclipse. You can, for example, use the so-called released object virtual trees, set up such virtual tree to see only release objects in the system. Or you can also look for the released API by using the Open ABAP Development Object dialog. The list of public APIs are also available on SAP Business Accelerator Hub and, in addition, in the Cloudification repository on the GitHub. Thereby, you can use the convenient Cloudification repository viewer to browse the content. And of course, you can anytime request the missing public API from SAP via the corresponding customer influence site. If you are missing public API from SAP, you can implement your own custom wrapper. And the foundation for your custom wrapper development should be the classic APIs. So we from SAP nominated a list of stable classic APIs, which is independent for all S/4HANA releases, and this list should be used as foundation for you to build your custom wrapper. The list with classic APIs is available on the GitHub, and you can check the usage of your classic APIs in your code using ABAP Test Cockpit. So if your custom object is using such classic API, then you can cloud enable it by implementing the custom wrapper. And in order to speed up your development process for custom wrappers, we offer you also custom wrapper generator that can be used to generate custom wrappers for function modules. For example, BAPIs come along with very long signatures, right? And it would be very convenient to use the custom wrapper to get it generated. Okay, if you have some use cases which you probably can innovate into the direction of ABAP Cloud from your classic ABAP code, then the ABAP Development Tools for Eclipse and certainly ABAP Test Cockpit are the tools of choice to use. You check your custom code with ABAP Test Cockpit and ABAP Cloud Readiness Check variant, and then you get a long list of findings, and then you can use the quick fixes to adapt your findings in automated way to usage of ABAP language for cloud development. And then you can just use the successor API provided in ABAP Test Cockpit results in order to adapt your code to usage of released object. And as already said, if you are missing publicly released API, request it at SAP or implement your own custom wrappers. So far, to custom code development in clean core way. And the question is now how to govern this custom code development in S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition. Thomas, would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, all right. Thank you. I will do so. And I'm also happy to share some news in that area later on. So you told it already. So governance process for clean core is very essential because, yeah, you have to look a bit on what you're developing and how you're doing this. When you're using ABAP Cloud development model, so switching the software component to ABAP Cloud is quite easy because the syntax check is doing the governance, because there's no possibility to use not released APIs or old obsolete ABAP statements, so you will get syntax errors. So this tier 1 development. But there is also, especially when looking on customers who are doing a system conversion, they have a lot of custom code, legacy custom code that stays in tier 3. And now the question is, okay, what's with this coding? Is it still, let's say freestyle development and modifications and all these kind of things as in the past? No, definitely not. So we also recommend here strongly to also establish some kind of a governance process here as well. For sure, not via our cloud, because this is not possible for legacy code. But we also recommend to use, whenever possible, only use the ABAP Cloud language version and use, wherever possible, released APIs. And the tool of choice for this governance is, again, the ABAP Test Cockpit. We know it already from the adaptation process, so that's more or less the setup that we recommend. So we have already prepared an ATC variant that you should use in your developments. With the latest release, we also have already some pre-configured variant that we deliver. And there are all these checks integrated that we recommend. At the end, it's more or less the same checks that for ABAP Cloud the syntax check is doing, so checking for released APIs, checking for ABAP Cloud language version, all these kind of things are now handled via the ABAP Test Cockpit. Why is this the case? Because I already mentioned for these legacy developments, you cannot use the ABAP Cloud language version because you still have to use some, let's say, things which are not possible within ABAP Cloud. Therefore, we say, okay, you establish this process here that you cannot release transports, for example, because they are blocked when you're using objects which are not allowed in ABAP Cloud, but you have the possibility to, let's say, overrule this. And you create an exemption, right? And then the developer is able to transport the objects. And then later on, you also have some kind of an overview about all the exemptions, and then you see, okay, where do you have deviations from ABAP Cloud development model and things like that. So then you see that both things work perfectly together. On the one hand side, the clear model via ABAP Cloud, so syntax check is taken care of. On the other hand, for the legacy developments, you're using ABAP Test Cockpit. Okay, for technical recommendation from our side is to use the ABAP Test Cockpit on SAP BTP. For sure, system is managed by SAP. You have always the latest checks, all the latest technologies, infrastructure in there, and this is all in place for you without having any invest for upgrades or system maintenance. So that's one of the benefits. Feature-wise, you see here the long list of the features that we are supporting in the BTP is more or less very similar to that what we are providing in on-premise. So there's no reason why you should not use this option to have the ATC. You just then use the ABAP environment in SAP BTP, connect it via RFC to your on-premise developments or in the private cloud systems, and then you're ready to go. All things like developer scenario, exemptions, all these kind of things work perfectly fine. Especially important, our latest innovations, the baseline, for example, which is very important because, you know, when you have legacy developments, you have thousands of findings at the beginning, and then you can use the baseline to eliminate all these findings, and then that's fine. So that's more or less the technical setup. Now, next we want to look a little bit on first, let's say, experience that we collected from customers. And that's more or less what we see, especially for customers with having a lot of legacy custom code. And then you're triggering an ATC run with the ABAP Cloud readiness checks on the legacy code. And then you will see that the ABAP Test Cockpit has severe issues later on because you get very, very huge amount of findings because every usage of SAP data element which is not released will get an ATC error for that. And therefore we thought, okay, maybe we need some additional support here in order to guide guide our customers and the developers on customer side how they should develop clean core compliant also in the tier 3 development. And the approach that we are using here is similar to that what they've already seen with the classic APIs. So that means we want to extend this concept now, that we also provide classic APIs for tier 3 development. So not only the stuff that we already have provided in order to create the wrappers. No, now you can also use this recommendation for classic ABAP development. So here, typical examples are all the programming interfaces that you need for example, DynPro development. So we have it here on the slide, the CL GUI Alfred. I know everybody of you is using this since years, and we will definitely not do incompatible changes here. So it's that we say, okay, this is, let's say, a very good example how this will look like. So you will then find all these APIs as well in our GitHub Cloudification repository, where we already have the classic APIs for the tier 2 development. And I will guess at the end of the year, there will be then also this list available for the tier 3 development. And then for sure, we also will adapt the ABAP test cockpit checks. So because you will then not get any errors anymore when you are using in your legacy applications an ALV grid, for example, you only get an info message that you can still use the, let's say, that you have a very good overview where do you still use classic developments, but this will not block your transports anymore. That's the basic idea. And as I said, we're currently preparing this list of APIs, doing some changes in the ABAP test cockpit variant. You see this also on the slide, that we will not only report all the ABAP language statements, because for sure when you're programming in DynPro, you also need the classic statements that you need there in order to program a report, for example. So the whole thing gets a little bit more easy then to manage. That's the idea. All right, having said that, now something completely different, because we are now here already talking 70 minutes, and maybe you think about something is missing in the presentation. Is this really the only presentation at TechEd this year where you don't have AI in the topic? No worries, we have this for you, because now a small outlook what we currently have in the labs. And we also think about, okay, how we can use AI for the custom transformation process, be it standard S4 conversion, so taking your ECC systems towards S4HANA. This is one part, but also then later to adopt the clean core approach, adapting released APIs, all these kind of things. And here we're currently having ideas how we can integrate this in our ABAP development tools. And that's more or less our idea. So you can imagine that, maybe you saw this already, that we position Joule for ABAP, you have a new friend which sits besides you, and you can ask every question that you have about ABAP, and we do exactly the same thing then for S4HANA and Clean Core. So you can ask every question like, okay, what's the issue in S4HANA with the material number, or what is the released API for these and that, all these kind of things. So there's a lot of documentation out there, but it's, I think, much easier to just chat with the Joule here in your ADT and get all the answers that you need. And for sure, this is all nicely integrated and can work together with all the other Joule agents that you maybe seen already in the presentation yesterday by Yasmin and Sebastian. So things like an explain functionality or a code completion or generation of unit tests. So this all gives you a very good bundle that you can use together in order to manage all the things that you need when you transfer your system to S4HANA or to Clean Core. So for example, first thing, typically when you have legacy code, you want to know, okay, what is this coding doing? Then you're using the explain. Later on, you will find out, okay, ask Joule, what are the necessary changes here? Then you get proposals also. You see it on the slide here with all the code proposals that you can just take over then into your coding. And then at the end, you maybe also say, okay, why not also extend this legacy report with some unit tests in order when I do some changes, that I have some kind of a safety net here as well. So these are all the things that we are currently working on. For sure, you can imagine that we invest here a lot in also our learning here for the AI, that we have a proper code proposals, all these kind of things. And that's more or less what we want to ship then as I said, this is currently in our lab, so do not expect that this will be also shipped with next year with the first wave, let's say, of Joule capabilities in ABAP in February. So this will definitely come later, but I'm convinced that maybe next year at TechEd we are sitting here again and maybe can show what we have developed over this year. All right, having said that, this was it already from my side, and then I think we can start the Q&A, right?
Right.
Okay. All right.
Let's see. We have a question which has 3 votes. From Tom, is the custom wrapper the only best option for customers who are using older versions of S4, not compatible with the recently released APIs?
Yeah, I think let's say the good thing on the classic APIs is that they are all APIs that exist already since years. So these are the old BAPs, all these kind of things. I think you can also use this already on older releases. We recommend to use ABAP Cloud with the 2022 release. But you will see not all APIs that you maybe want to have are available there, but you can directly also start with the wrapper approach on older releases.
Okay. The next one is, if Joule is trained on all ABAP code, how to make sure the generated ABAP code is best practice code?
Hi, Marian. For sure, that's a very, very good question. And also, yeah, currently what we think about, for sure when looking in our system, you will not find the latest ABAP code. So that's also something where we have to look at how to figure out what is the code that we really can use for our model training here. We have some kind of, how should I say, that we can classify the code so that we can then say, okay, this is code which we can use for the model training and which is not compatible, let's say, with the model training.
Okay, the next one. For a company with a code base of 25 years, going greenfield is not an option and re-implementing all that custom code is not feasible. How can such a company maintain a clean core? I would say the 3T extensibility model benefit from the building custom wrappers or benefit from our new concept with the classic APIs in Tier 3 that we plan to deliver.
Definitely. And Amit, one addition. Please do not start to think about, okay, how to re-implement all these legacy coding with ABAP Cloud. So really, first start with new developments, use the new development model, and legacy code you can over the time modernize, use APIs and things like that.
If you have particular use cases for that.
For sure. So it's manageable. We have a lot of customers that are in that position, let's say. All right.
Okay, let's look for the next one. Are Joule's ABAP developer capabilities planned to be available for SAP S/4HANA Private Cloud development in Eclipse, or are they only intended for the ABAP Cloud development on BTP?
Yeah, maybe we pass this question to the other. No, that is definitely the idea to also provide this for private cloud customers and hopefully also for on-premise development, because otherwise this assistant that I have on the slide is definitely not valid when we are just providing this in the public cloud, because there anyhow is no transition scenario or migration scenario in place, right? So. Right. This is then a bad idea to provide this when we don't have the idea to also ship this for private cloud customers.
Exactly. The next one is very...
This I think we already had, right?
We already had this one with 14 words. The next one is pretty tricky. Is Joule for ABAP is also going to be available for on-premise?
Yeah, this may be similar to the question here. So technically, I think that's not a big deal, because anyhow the private cloud code stack is more or less the same as on-premise. But yeah, let's see what we will provide on our roadmap when we ship this in next year, February.
Thomas, a special question for you as a product owner. Smart Form subscript, Adobe Form, are they considered in the clean core analysis?
This is exactly what we want to provide as part of these legacy technologies. So for sure, target technology is Adobe, but we also think about, okay, why should we really re-implement all these kind of things with Adobe? So it's also the idea to position this in this, let's say, good part of the tier 3 development. All right.
All right.
Then we're already at the end. Then thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your attention.
And then?
And have a good take it.
Yep. See you.